If one single Pokemon faints, I have to restart from the very beginning. This is the ultimate Nuzlocke Gauntlet, where I am beating every single Pokemon game in the franchise in a hardcore Nuzlocke completely deathless. I've already crushed all 3 Gen 1 games, overcame Gen 2 Johto, and eventually beat the Gen 3 Hoenn games as well. But there are 2 more games in Gen 3 remaining, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Let's begin. Attempt 1 in Fire Red, we chose Squirtle as our starter, as it is the most balanced in terms of matchups throughout the entirety of the game. And standard hardcore Nuzlocke rules do apply, but there are 2 additional twists. If anything faints, we reset at the beginning of the game, and any Pokemon that enters the Hall of Fame is permanently banned in the next game. And our first few encounters are your very typical Pidgey, Rattata, and Weedle, but over on Route 22, we very luckily get Mankey, which is very strong, but its defenses make it risky to use, especially when one death resets your whole run. Not much else before the first gym though, so against Brock, I doubt you'll be surprised to hear this, but Confuse the Squirtle just one-shots both of his rock types, who are of course quad weak to water. And hey, 1 badge down. Then on Route 3, we get another amazing encounter, Nidoran Male, as well as the Magikarp on sale in the Pokemon Center, both of which are incredibly powerful additions to our team, especially with how early they can reach their peak. Like how Nidoran evolves into Nidorino in Mount Moon, where we also find the Moonstone, which means we could absolutely have a Nidoking here already, which is insane. But we hold off and move towards Cerulean City, where we have our first meaningful battle with our rival. Against this Pidgeotto, we lead off with Confuse, then neither Water Gun or Gust do like anything, but we land a massive Mega Kick down to the red, then finish it off with a Water Gun. Bulbasaur is out next, so we pivot into our own Pidgeotto, and after some sleep turns, Trafalgar can wake up and land 2 Gusts to bring down his starter. His Abra doesn't actually have any moves though, so that's a non-factor. Then Rattata also falls to 2 quick attacks, defeating our rival pretty handily. Past Nugget Bridge on Route 24 and 25, we get 2 chances at finding a wild Abra, which we do on 24, but we still need to catch it.
We have to catch it though. We don't have sleep powder this time around. So we have to just throw a ball. It's so unlikely, guys. Yep, there it goes. Ah!
All right. 1 more chance on 25, and it's an Oddish, which is fine, actually. Gloom will be really nice to have into Misty. And speaking of which, it is time for our gym battle against Misty. Against Staryu, we lead said Gloom, and Absorb does huge damage, actually, so the second does bring it down and restores our health. Starmie here would be terrifying if they even gave it, like, Confusion or something, but no, all it can really do is Swift, so we land a Stun Spore and then just Absorb over and over and over until we eventually knock out the Starmie and earn our second gym badge. Then down on the SSN, we do have another battle with our rival, but this time we have Dustin the Gyarados with secret power, so outside of a scary moment with his Kadabra, we defeat him very easily, which of course gives us cut and access to the 3rd gym.
I hate this, dude. I hate this gym puzzle so much. I hate it. We've gotten pretty lucky on our last few streams when we were doing actual, like, true Gen 1. Okay, there's that one. Come on. This is so stupid. There we go. Okay, we did it.
Thankfully, after that nonsense, we can show off the aforementioned ridiculous early game Nidoking against Surge. Okay, I do know that you can technically sweep this gym with a puny little Diglett, but it's also a lot riskier that way, okay? Dooster obviously handles Surge without a hitch and earns our 3rd gym badge very easily. So then, on our way over to Dark Cave, we catch a Voltorb on Route 10, and...
Geodude is our encounter, and I'm very okay with that. Just kidding, we just killed it with a critical hit bite. All right, cool.
Sorry, Geodude, I really did want to catch you, actually. But thankfully, over on Route 7, and I think 8, we get 2 chances at catching my favorite Pokemon of all time, or at least the pre-evolution to it, Growlithe. It can roar you away, however, and we do catch it on our first try. Welcome to the Team Legend. We also grabbed a duo over to the west, Eevee and Celadon, and we finally get our Abra in the game corner, which, again, is insane that you can just buy Alakazam, basically one of the best Pokemon in the first 3 generations. But without further ado, it's my boy Legend's maiden voyage. My first time actually using my favorite Pokemon in this entire gauntlet, and it absolutely roasts Erica's whole team and gets a bit carried away in the process. Thanks for the badge, Erica. Sorry about the gym. Kanto really just hands you so many strong options in a Nuzlocke. Like, look at this team. We barely even have 4 badges. So yeah, back in Lavender Town, our rival gets crushed even more handily than normal, and what's that? We get another amazing Pokemon that we will potentially bring to the league? This is ridiculous. Then after we get the Pokeflute, you guessed it, another incredible Pokemon to add to our team, but Snorlax at least is very dangerous to try to catch. But after like 40 or so failed Great Balls, we got it. But wait, there's more! If you carefully fish up all of the other possible fishing encounters before entering the Safari Zone, once you're in there, the only valid fishing encounter left is Dratini.
Okay, do we throw a rock or do we just... Let's throw a rock and see what happens. Now let's try to catch it. Throwing a rock makes it easier to catch her. Boom, baby, there we go.
This should start to paint the picture as to why I personally think that Fire Red and Leaf Green are the easiest games in the franchise alongside X and Y. But it is still a deathless Nuzlocke, of course, so we cannot get too comfortable. The region is pretty open to us at this point. We could go take on Sabrina or Koga, who actually have the exact same level cap that we cannot overlevel. So to avoid that, we actually make sure to clear our way through Silphco first, where we do have another rival battle. But this time his team is much more formidable. Against his Pidgeot, we lead with Dooster and Rock Slide, but it doesn't one-shot? Thankfully though, one more attack does, and Alakazam, however, is obviously going to make a switch here. We send in Confused on the Reflect, and then it Calm Minds as we bite.
Calm Mind on this thing is absolutely terrifying, and there's the Future Sight. We cannot forget about the Future Sight this time. We saw what happened with Wally.
Future Sight damage is going to do us in. We can't heal. This is the run. We can't switch. Magnet Pull. We have a chance.
We have a chance. We have a chance.
Don't kill, 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 don't.
We saw what happened with Wally. There's no way we're losing two Pokemon to a rival's Future Sight. There's no way.
Alakazam goes down and Venusaur comes out, so we pivot to Legend, who does have to take the Future Sight unfortunately, but Flamethrower thankfully one-shots his starter. Gyarados is next, and we actually don't have a great answer here, so we send in our own Gyarados Dustin on the bite. Secret Power does more damage and gets the para, so a few more wins us the mirror match, and his Growlithe obviously doesn't stand a chance here to Gyarados' bad special attack, which wins us the pretty dangerous battle. We do get a gift Lapras for our trouble, and Giovanni really doesn't put up much of a fight this time around as Blastoise handles his first few Pokemon, then Legend and Dustin clean up the rest. Which means now we have a decision to make. Again, Koga and Sabrina have the exact same level cap. Therefore, we have to go into one of said battles under-leveled. Although we all know this really isn't a tough choice at all, as Koga is a total pushover and Sabrina is one of the toughest battle in the region. Obviously, we do choose Koga here in our level 42 Colby 2. The Alakazam rips through his entire team with one Psychic each, of course earning us our 5th gym badge, in about the easiest way possible. But that means that we can no longer put it off. It is time to take on Sabrina. However, we have the perfect counter to her team, Snorlax. Even just Body Slam Snorlax is probably good enough to sweep this gym, but to add insult to injury, it can learn the Shadow Ball TM, which is of course super effective into her Psychic types, but is also physical in Gen 3 as it's before the physical special split and all Ghost type moves were physical. So it hits from Snorlax's stronger attack stat into their weaker defense stats. So yeah, Animu of course completes the sweep and we get our 6th gym badge. Moving on down to Cinnabar Island, we even revive the Aerodactyl, but I don't think we actually ever end up using it, further showing the amount of amazing Pokemon that Kanto games offer you. And poor Blaine really shouldn't ever give anyone an issue in a Kanto Nuzlocke. Again, there are so many good water type options available at this point, and all you really need is one good one to sweep this gym. We even do that here with our 60 special attack Gyarados using Rain Dance and Surf to one-shot every single one of his Pokemon. We didn't even use our Blastoise. And sadly, the 8th and final gym leader, Giovanni, has a very similar set of circumstances, with his entire team being weak to water. We just let our starter Confused come in and surf down the Rhyhorn, and the Dugtrio doesn't even have any rock type moves, so we just switch into Dustin and set up the rain and surf it down, taking minimal slash damage in the process, and Rhyhorn also of course falls to a quad effective surf in the rain, but somewhat surprisingly so do both Nidoqueen and Nidoking in one shot each. And there you have it, we have our 8 badges in Kanto. Now before we get to the Elite Four, there is one last battle with our rival. However, it's really not difficult at all, and we more or less one-shot his whole team, so with that, we've made it! It is time for the Elite Four in Pokemon Fire Red. Here's our team.
We have Confuzz the Blastoise with Surf, Ice Beam, Bite, and Protect. We might change Bite, we'll see. We have Animu the Snorlax with Body Slam, Yawn, Hyper Beam, and Shadow Ball. We have Colby 2, the Alakazam with Psychic, Recover, Thunder Wave, and Calm Mind. We have Polly, the Jolteon with Thunderbolt, Pin Missile, Shockwave, and Thunder Wave. Legend, my boy, my favorite Pokemon, Arcanine with Flamethrower, Extreme Speed, Bite, and Secret Power. You guys are here in the chat. We get Dooster the Nidoking with Earthquake, Rock Slide, Ice Beam, and Toxic. Here we go.
Everyone is at the level cap of the final Elite Four member, and our first challenge in said Elite Four is the Ice-type Master Lorelei. If you watch the Gen 1 Kanto Gauntlet video, this battle will look shockingly familiar. Polly the Jolteon leads off and thunderbolts down the Dugong for a clean one-shot KO. Then he one-shots the Cloyster, and Slowbro is bulky, but also fails to one Thunderbolt. But Lapras does actually manage to survive in the red, and lands a critical hit Surf in return, but it doesn't really matter. After the heals, Jolteon still finishes off her ace. Jinx, however, isn't actually weak to electric, as it's not a water type of course, so we send in my boy Legend, who can melt down her chances with a single flamethrower. Lorelei is defeated. Which means Bruno is up next with his fighting team. Against his lead Onix, Blastoise is of course able to just take it out with a quad effective Surf, and when Hitmonchan comes in, we switch to Dooster the Nidoking, expecting a fighting type move, then land an Earthquake to the red. Bruno heals, and this thing can't really touch Dooster at all, so 2 more Earthquakes bring it down. His other Onix is out, so we send in Blastoise again on the honestly pathetic Earthquake and fire back with another Surf one-hit KO. Machamp, however, is actually pretty formidable. It obviously has great attack, but it is also much bulkier than you'd think, even on the special side. So instead of risking a switch, we just fire off a Surf and get our speed lowered. Cross Chop then lands and does decent damage actually, and the following Surf brings it to the red before the berry. Though now we may be in crit range to another Cross Chop, so we pivot into Legend on the heal, and Flamethrower brings it back to the yellow, and the next one takes it out. So Hitmonlee is his last Pokemon, who shockingly has 110 special defense, but only 53 physical defense, so we extreme speed instead, take 1 Mega Kick, and finish off Hitmonlee with the next E-Speed, defeating Bruno. But with Agatha up next, we've all seen this dance before. Alakazam leads us off and Psychic one-shots the lead Gengar, Psychic one-shots the following Golbat, but instead of just sweeping I decide to get a bit cheeky and attempt setting up a Calm Mind, and immediately pay for it with not only a big physical Sludge Bomb, but the poison as well. So of course the +1 Psychic takes down the Snake, but now when Gengar comes in, with Colby being so low in health, I think we learn our lesson the easy way and switch. Animu comes out, but thanks to leftovers, it's fine, and Gengar misses the Hypnosis, so Animu can retaliate with a huge Shadow Ball one-shot of her own. Her final Pokemon is a Haunter, and it just wants the battle to be over with as it sacrifices half of its own health, and Animu takes the rest with Shadow Ball, finally retiring Agatha. But that means that Dragon Trainer Lance, the final member of the Elite Four, is all that stands between us and the champion. He leads off with Gyarados, so we let Polly take the spotlight, sending off 1 single Thunderbolt for quad-effective one-shot. But since we don't know which of his Dragonairs this is, we play it safe and send an Animu on an outclassed Dragon Rage. Body Slam does huge damage down to the red, and he even thankfully wastes one of his heals here, and eventually the Dragonair goes down. The second Dragonair is out now, so we just stay in and get paralyzed, but break through and land another Body Slam. Dragonair outrages, and we get fully para'd. But Outrage doesn't do much at all, so once we break through, Body Slam finishes the job. And here is the Dragonite. Unfortunately, Gen 3 is pre-physical special split, meaning Hyper Beam is physical and most likely takes out our Snorlax, which we do not want to see obviously, so we actually send in Legend for the Intimidate, and thankfully he just sets up a safeguard. Then we just bite, either try to fish for a flinch or read whatever move he's gonna go for, and it is Outrage. So we pivot to Blastoise to tank it and then land 1 quad effective Ice Beam for the one-shot. Aerodactyl is his last Pokemon, but Confused is the perfect answer. He takes a wing attack, fires back with a Surf, defeats Aerodactyl, and Lance of the Elite Four. Only 1 battle remains in Pokemon Fire Red, our rival, the champion, Chat. But we've battled him so many times up to this point, we should have the line to beat him pretty well figured out. Pidgeot is out first, so we lead Polly for the easy Thunderbolt one-shot, then Rhydon comes out, so expecting the Earthquake, Blastoise is our best answer, but still takes pretty big damage. Thankfully, it can of course outspeed and land the quad-effective Surf in return, and now his starter Venusaur is next out. Hoping for the sunny day, we switch out into Legend, and it growths. Alright, so we just Flamethrower, and it brings down the Venusaur, and Gyarados has arrived. We pivot to Polly on a Hydro Pump, then outspeed and fry it with a Thunderbolt. The ever-terrifying Alakazam is not to be taken lightly, however, but thankfully, Polly has kept Pin Missile on his move pool all this time for this specific matchup. It lands once, twice, 3 times, and that's it. Psychic does decent damage though, so what we should have done to start is probably send in Animu, and Alakazam sets up the Reflect, unfortunately. So it does take 1 Shadow Ball, but his efforts are futile as 1 more finishes off the Alakazam. And Arcanine, my favorite Pokemon of all time, is the final Pokemon we need to defeat to win this run. How fitting. We send in Dooster on a Flamethrower, which hurts and puts us in crit range. So we switch into our starter Blastoise to take another one, much better. Leftovers gives us back a bit of health, so we even protect a double set recovery. Then we somehow outspeed and one-shot with Surf, which means we have defeated our rival Chat and completed a hardcore Deathless Nuzlocke of Pokemon Fire Red on our first try. But remember, like I said at the start, all 6 of those Pokemon that we just entered into the Fire Red Hall of Fame are now completely banned in Leaf Green. We cannot use them at all for the whole game. And with that being said, considering we use some of the best Pokemon in the Kanto region, can we do it again on our first try in Leaf Green? Well, on attempt 1, since Blastoise is banned, we actually go with Charmander instead of Bulbasaur. Not because it's the best option necessarily, but because just like every other Pokemon in this series, we're naming them off of people who are directly supporting the channel and chat on stream, and one viewer by the name of Light sent a huge super chat requesting that we use a female Charmander named Sylvia after his dog. So, you know, that's what we're gonna do. I really appreciate all of you who support in chat. I cannot thank you enough. Also, all of said streams are still available to view on the channel, but anyway, enough blabbing onto our first few encounters, which are again the typical Pidgey, Weedle, Caterpie, and another Mankey, which this time is actually really clutch for us since we don't have a Squirtle to trivialize Brock. So into said first gym against Brock, who else but Pulse the Mankey to come in and save the day into our team who is entirely weak to rock otherwise, but our boy can just low kick a handful of times, knocking out both of his Pokemon, defeating Brock and earning our first gym badge in Leaf Green. And last time on Route 3 we got Nidoran male, and this time we get the female. Sweet. And we did not bring Gyarados to the league last time, so we of course take the best deal in the Pokemon universe once again, getting another Magikarp. And on the other side of Mount Moon, we find ourselves in the face of our rival all over again. But as is the story with most of his battles, it is not difficult in the slightest, which means we do get 2 more chances at Abra above Nugget Bridge, and...
But still, we get the Abra, okay. Do we Stun Spore or do we just throw a ball? If we had Sleep Powder, I feel like we would click Sleep Powder here, but we don't have Sleep Powder. So I think we have to go ball, unfortunately. Got it! Oh my god.
Hey, there we go. Too bad I forgot that it's actually banned since we brought it to the league in Fire Red. But on Route 25, we get a Bellsprout that will obviously be a big help against Misty. So we of course lead with little Geo here against her Staryu, but Vine Whip just barely doesn't one-shot. So hey, at least she wastes a potion and the next 2 bring it down. Starmie, however, lands a decent Swift and Stun Spore misses. So we may be in crit range, so to play it safe, we send in Sam the Gyarados, and she does take a handful of weak Swifts, but Bite is super effective and eventually knocks it out, winning us the battle and our second gym badge. But now that we are past the water gym, we can evolve Little Kelp into the ground type Nidoqueen, as well as finding 2 more ground type encounters on the way to the electric gym, Diglett and Sandshrew. And yet again on SSN, we show why people saying Gyarados is bad in Gens 2 and 3 is just silly. If you want even more explanation to that, go watch the hoenn recap. But without further ado, it's time for the electric gym battle against Surge. Kelp leads us off and of course gets the one-shot KO with Dig on Voltorb, then she also outspeeds the Pikachu and even hits through the double team for another one-shot. Static even gets us here, but we came prepared with a berry, so Raichu immediately double teams, of course, twice, which is even more annoying considering we're using Dig, so it gets off 2 more double teams and we miss again. Thankfully it can't really touch us either, so we just keep trying, and eventually Dig does land, taking down Raichu and Lieutenant Surge along with it. Surge is defeated, 3 badges down. Remember that Abra that we caught that is banned so we can't actually use? Well, that doesn't mean that we can't still catch it and use it for something. Back over on Route 2, there is an in-game trade where we can send said Abra in exchange for Mimian, who, if you didn't know, is actually very, very good in these games. It's no Zam, but it's still great. Then all the way down by Celadon, we managed to catch a Doduo, grab the Eevee, and catch a Vulpix. Also, since we can't buy the Abra this time around, instead of worrying about the fishing encounter shenanigans in the Safari Zone, we can just buy ourselves a future Dragonite instead. Before we leave Celadon City though, we do have to battle Erica. However, look at this team that we have. She doesn't stand a chance. UNH here, dude, the Ninetales here absolutely cooks her first 2 Pokemon, but then Vileplume actually survives a Flamethrower, then it lands a Stun Spore, heals up, and we get fully para'd, and she gets the defense drop. And we get fully parried again! So, unfortunately, after the acid here and the next flamethrower, we're forced to switch into Greg the Golbat to save the day. She just had to ruin the Ninetales sweep. Fine, we still get our 4th gym badge. Down in the Rocket Underground, Geo, the Victory Bell, and Confused the Machoke handle Giovanni for us, so it's time to head back to Lavender Town where we can at least find another Ghastly.
Pokemon, I don't think. We got the Cubone instead of the Ghastly. Oh no, guys, this is actually not good. I was fully planning on using Gengar in the league this time.
Well, that was somehow really lucky and really unlucky all at the same time, and what also is really unfortunate is the fact that we can't catch Snorlax this time since it's banned. But that means that now we have arrived at the Divide of Kanto, or the opening of Kanto, I suppose, as we can basically go anywhere at this point. Though, like I explained earlier, the smartest path is to take down Silphco first. This time, against our rival on one of the top floors, we let Mimian start us out against his Pidgeot. We actually set up Reflect on turn 1, and it shockingly survives a Thunderbolt, so we do take some wing attack damage before bringing it down. Blastoise comes out, and we switch into Sam on the Protect, and Secret Power really doesn't do much though, and Bite even crits. Thankfully, a few more can get the KO, and in comes his level 38 Growlithe, so Surf of course handles the poor pup. And oh look, a level 38 Execute! What are we doing, Blue? But it does actually paralyze Charizard though, and land a crit, and we get fully parried, and leech seeded. Sylvia, what are we doing? Thankfully, Flamethrower gets us out of that ridiculous bind, and here is the Zam. Drilling comes in and lands a big tri-attack for the one-shot and defeats our rival, thankfully. So we are awarded with a nice little Lapras and another battle with Giovanni. But that Lapras is immediately being thrown to the wolves. Let's see what it's got. Against Nidorino, Surf actually fails to get the one-shot, but it's fine. The second one gets it done, though it obviously does get the one-shot against Rhyhorn. Nidoqueen, however, does also only get taken down to the yellow, but she just poison stings anyway, so the next one takes it out too. When Kangaskhan comes in, we switch into Recovering the Poliwrath, who can finish it off in 2 Brick Breaks and defeat Giovanni. Now back down to Fuchsia City. This time, since Alakazam is banned, we might actually have to find a different path through Koga. We do have some options, but plan A is Mimian the Mr. Mime. Psybeam deflates the first Coughing and brings down the Muck in 2 hits, and the second Coughing follows suit. And now his ace Weezing also goes down to 1 Psybeam. No Zam, no problem. But will we be able to say the same about Sabrina without Snorlax? Well, for some insurance on the way there, we do make sure to find and capture a Slowpoke and a Staryu. Let's see how it turns out. Sabrina leads off with her Kadabra, and we send in Sam the Gyarados. Secret Power flattens the Kadabra and even manages to bring Mime to the red, as well as paralyzing it. It does go Barrier though, so we switch to Bite and take it out in 2. When Venomoth comes out, we switch into Colby the Slowbro, and after taking the Leech Life, we Amnesia. Leech Life also really doesn't matter since we have leftovers, and Psychic of course one-shots the bug. Alakazam has arrived, but we have another almost perfect answer here with the physically shadow balling, specially bulky Slowbro. It can't quite one-shot, but it's okay. Colby easily handles her ace and earns our 6th gym badge. The last 2 gym leaders in Kanto, however, as we have seen on 4 separate occasions now, they are basically a non-factor as long as you have a strong and fast water-type Pokemon, which we have options there. So yeah, Starmie obviously sweeps Blaine with no issue, and takes down every single one of Giovanni's Pokemon in one shot as well. Well, look at that, we have 8 gym badges. And with that, it is time for the Elite 4. This is the team we are rolling with. Sorry, Light, but your special Charizard Sylvia did not make the cut. Hopefully what we did makes up for it.
Alright, we're about to head into the Elite 4 in Leaf Green, and we have I Do the Starmie with Psychic, Surf, Thunderbolt, and Recover. We have Colby 2, the Slowbro with Shadow Ball, Calm Mind, Surf, and Psychic. We have Dooster 2, the Lapras with Surf, Body Slam, Confuse Ray, and Ice Beam. We have Animu 2, Aerial Ace, Rock Slide, Double Edge, and Fly. We have a lot of 2s on this team. We have Light the Dragonites with Wing Attack, Ice Beam, Flamethrower, and Dragon Claw. And we have Sam the Gyarados with Dragon Dance, Surf, Ice Beam, and Earthquake. And we did indeed box our Charizard.
Against our first Elite Four challenge, Lorelei and her ice types the Starmie leads us off. Thunderbolt shockingly does not one-shot the Dugong, but it just surfs, so the second one can of course finish it off. Lapras is also very bulky, so Thunderbolt only does about half, which allows Lapras to confuse us, and hurts itself turn 1, takes a body slam, hurts itself again, takes another body slam, and gets paralyzed. Oh, okay, there goes our sweep, I guess. Time to pivot. We send in Gyarados for the Intimidate and to take the body slam. When in doubt, dance it out. It does of course confuse Sam as well, but she breaks through and takes it out with a +1 Earthquake. Cloyster, however, is of course very physically bulky, but we have heard this story before. And now, with our +6 speed and +6 attack Gyarados, it is time for the Rampage of Sam. Earthquake crushes the Cloyster, topples the Slowbro, and destroys the Jinx, defeating Lorelei of the Elite Four. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Even in Gen 2 and 3, Gyarados at its worst is still better than most other Pokemon at their best. Moving on to Bruno, though, who is really never an issue, and it's no different this time. Starmie surfs down his Onix, one-shot Psychics Hitmonchan, one-shot Psychics Hitmonlee, surfs down the second Onix, and even manages to one-shot Psychic Machamp with a critical hit. Starmie is one of the best late-game sweepers in the first 3 generations of Pokemon. I swear, it is so slept on. So let's see how it does against Agatha and her ghost types. Well, Psychic one-shots the lead Gengar and one-shots the Golbat. Then Arbok also falls to a single Psychic, and so does the Gengar. Finally, her Haunter also falls victim to Idu's prowess, another sweep under Starmie's belt. But that brings us to the final member of the Elite Four, Lance. Can Starmie do it? Can it pull off another sweep? Well, the lead Gyarados obviously goes down to Quad Effective Thunderbolts, and...
No, if you want in on the wheel for the... We didn't teach Starmie Ice Beam! Oh, I didn't teach Starmie Ice Beam! Oh, that was such a throw! Oh my god, that was such a throw.
I am fully convinced that if it wasn't for the terrible RNG against Lorelei and my own stupidity against Lance, Starmie would have clean sweeped the entire Elite Four by itself. But alas, it weakens the next Dragonair, which allows us to switch into our own Dragon on the full restore turn. So now at least we do have Light, who can easily take out the Dragonair with Dragon Claw. And here we go, Dragonite v Dragonite. But it's a speed tie, and a critical hit Outrage kills Light and ends our run. So we play it safe and switch into Lapras, tank the Outrage, outspeed somehow, and land the quad effective Ice Beam for the one-shot KO. Aerodactyl, however, is very fast and very strong, so expecting the Rock-type Ancient Power, we send in Colby to tank it very well even with the crit. One more comes in, and no Omni Boost, so a single serve brings down the Fossil, defeating Lance. One more battle remains, and we will have beaten all of Gens 1, 2, and 3 completely deathless. Champion Chat sends in his typical Pidgeot, so fries it with a critical hit Thunderbolt, and my favorite Pokemon of all time, Arcanine, is next. But even it can't stand up to Idu's Surf. Blastoise is next, and it does survive a Thunderbolt and lands a Bite, but the next Thunderbolt gets the KO. Exeggutor, though, is where the Starmie sweep ends, unfortunately. So we switch to Light and get put to sleep. She takes way more than I thought from an Egg Bomb too, and we do not wake up turn 2, so it sets up the Light screen. Then we continue to snooze, so Light takes another big Egg Bomb. So hilariously enough, we have to switch out of Dragonite in the face of Exeggutor, which, hot take, is probably the best Kanto Grass type. Animu the Aerodactyl can come in and tank an Egg Bomb though, and then of course outspeed and land a huge fly down to the red, so it puts us to sleep again. But we have a Lumberry. Chat full restores while we fly again back down to the red, and then he heals again, but 2 Aerial Aces can bring down the Exeggutor. Rhydon is out next, so we of course need to switch again, and thankfully Colby just gets hit with Scary Face and can take an Earthquake fairly well before getting the KO with Surf. Here we go. The final Pokemon we need to defeat in Gen 3, the champions Alakazam. However, we're already in the perfect answer. Colby takes a Psychic, fires back with a Shadow Ball, and it survives, and uses another full restore. And Shadow Ball this time leaves it in the red again, How many full restores does he have? Another Shadow Ball to the red again. He finally Psychics again, gets the crit, and one more Shadow Ball takes down the Alakazam and defeats the champion of the Kanto region. Meaning we have officially beaten Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Crystal, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, and Leaf Green completely deathless. If you want to see the videos for the other regions, check them out of course, but be sure to drop me a comment and make sure you're subscribed before you go. Thank you for watching, I hope you made it all the way to the end, and I'll see you in Sinnoh.